Hi, in this video, we're trying to solve the Spring Boot interview question, improve API latency. And this question is not like a typical lead code style question, but it is more of a use case based question. And I built this platform engineering with Java, where my goal is to cover these kind of questions, which are inspired from like real life use cases and how you basically solve them when you encounter them in your work, not like a templated lead code question with like some numbers and all that, which doesn't make much sense. So yeah, I'm trying to solve these kind of questions on this platform. So far I have covered like 60 plus questions, but I have planned to cover like 100 by end of this year. Mostly these are the questions inspired from my experience working on these different projects, and I just try to give them the interview flavor. And one more thing to share here is that not all the companies ask like standard lead code type questions. These days companies are moving toward more like a system designish type of questions, where they want to not only test your coding skills but also your like learnings from the actual building the system, trade-offs and so on. So I think this kind of questions fits very well. You will see a lot of companies asking these kind of questions in their interview, like a DoorDash, GoDaddy, and yeah, like there's a company called Carta. I have seen these companies frequently asking these kind of questions in their interviews instead of like just for following the traditional lead code style question. So if you're not one of them who like lead code, uh, I would say why not try these kind of questions. We'll probably learn something for your work. So with that, just some housekeeping thing. Who am I? My name is Suraj. I live in Canada, near Toronto. I have approximately been like 10 years of experience and worked in different countries. My major of so I have done some internship like 3 months around. I'm from Bombay, so I did like internship in the IIT Bombay. Studied college called VGTI, which is pretty popular in Mumbai. I studied electronics and telecommunication. 6 years spent in a company called Rakuten. This is Japan-based company. I was hired from on campus and worked in Japan for 2 years and moved to US for a different project under the same parent company. Mostly worked on the backend system, data architecture kind of stuff. And then I moved to Canada, and here I'm working as technical lead in PayPal for almost like now close to 4 years at this point, working on different infrastructure projects, uh, search infrastructure, and so on. So yeah, this is me, and just wanted to set some background. And if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, you can. I'm been posting here tons of content about Java, Spring, and in general like technical videos. Not videos, just the post. I'm planning to make videos. This is my channel, Engineering with Java. So far, I have like 31 videos. Initially, I made some videos about data engineering. Now I'm focusing mostly on the Spring related questions. Probably will cover more stuff in future. Apart from that, I have also built this engineering with Java platform. I do here is that I weekly basis I cover um, so yeah, I cover digest, where I create the summary of different articles that I think worth reading and spending time. Summary of them, videos that I think worth your time. Some of like links to question that I have recently posted on this platform, and so on. So far, I have like 200 plus articles here, 60 plus on the questions like this, and you can find them under Spring Boot Real World Interview Questions. Some of them are paid also, so and the subscription is pretty cheap. But if you cannot afford it, and if you have like some questions about it, how can we make it reasonable? Like you can DM me, and I'll accommodate that. But yeah, most of the question also here that you can follow for free and read them and try to understand the system implications about the behind these questions basically. Okay, with that, I'll move to the question for today. Spring Boot interview question: improve API latency. So, what does this question talks about? We are working on a Spring Boot API that returns large JSON object to like 2 MB. Recently, there is an integration with a partner that have reported that the API response have increase in time. So, what could be the reason? That's the basically crux there. Seems like there was new change made to that point, to the endpoint that was short up the latency, and there's a code snippet that is given here. And in real interview also, you will see this kind of like structure where they will have like some background. So a lot of time they are like pretty verbose, and they will like a small section that you have to focus on working, and there's a code snippet and all that. So this is the code. Let's read through it. So what this code does basically, so let's go through it and try to understand. We have a cache key, some unique key for the cache, and then there's a Redis template that is getting the value from the cache key, and then if you see this is storing as a byte array, and if the cache data is not equal to null, then we decompress that value, and then we try to map it to like Java object. Like we basically use object mapper to read that byte and convert that to product response. If it's not in the cache, like pretty standard, we read from the DB. And again, this data is basically we try to um, convert that to a byte array, because we want to store that as a byte array in the Redis, and then compress it because that's the change has been made to it, made to the code. So pretty standard. You have a cache key, we read that. If it's present, we read it from it. If not, we call the DB, we convert it to JSON, serialize it, compress it, and then write it to the cache. So it's a pretty straightforward usage of cache, DB, and if cache is not present, fetch it from the DB, write to the cache. Now some facts about the system. Redis is distributed clustered. CPU is on CPU on the app servers are high. API latency P95, P90 is increasing, and cache reads happen very frequently. So these are just some of the fact to help you reason about what's going wrong and so on. So read them thoroughly because this is very important to kind of give you direction where to go. So yeah, let's the first question. What will be your initial step for the investigation? Now, like if you see the code here, and it says that this code has been modified, right? And we are trying to get the value from the cache. We decompress it, and then we serialize, we deserialize to the response. So yeah, this kind of the place where I can see that we are decompressing it, compressing it. So this compressing, decompressing is kind of like heavy on CPU, because this kind of operation require CPU to operate on this data. So I think that's one of the thing that might be causing issue. And they also said that the CPU is high, so that might be the thing. Other than that, I don't see like a CPU heavy operation here. Fetching from the DB is basically IO operation, like because we are connecting to like like external system from the app, but the decompress and compress is kind of like using CPU of the pod, and using that's why CPU high. Okay, that might be one hint. And then API latency is increasing since like it's like CPU bound, taking time, adding in like a total API latency. So that might be the thing here. But like this question is, what will be our initial investigation? Like let's say we don't know what's the culprit here, and how do you prove even, right? Like this compress decompress might be the issue. So very first thing you do is you check the observability tool and like logs. So like Datadog is there, Prometheus, Grafana, those kind of system. Basically these kind of app like get instrumented to those systems. So you basically go and visualize the traces. Like you can have like a whole flame graph, how the entry point, like from the entry point of the request till the um, uh, like end or tail of the request, and then how the response was, and like all the different microservice interactions you can, like, distributed tracing can be done in that. So you basically look at the flame graph, and this is the example I have shared here. This is the Datadog flame graph. Like, you see whole request. For example, it's like shopping cart control, right? You have this endpoint, you get like which services it interacts with, how much time it spends on each service, and so on. So with that, you can basically judge where the issue is, like on which service we are spending more time. And to identify the culprit here, probably we can compare, average time each service takes, and like can compare that, and we can find the culprit that, yeah, this is the particular this particular request has been taking more time in last 1 month compared to what was before. So that should be our first step. We can also complement this with logs, and logs generally also have like the different like part of the code is basically logged, so you can kind of like complement your analysis with that. So that should reveal it. The second question is, all after looking at the code, what are the thoughts of improving the latency? Would you keep compression? Why not? I mean, we touched upon this a little bit. I mean, CPU is kind of a bottleneck. You can't basically scale the CPU, right? Like whatever CPU you assign on the pod is kind of like a bottleneck for you. But memory is cheap. You can add more memory to your system, and it's pretty cheap. So CPU is kind of like a bottleneck in the system design generally, and memory is kind of like cheap to scale, and kind of like decompressing on every read is kind of a costly, and like the Redis is generally not the limiting factor. As I said, memory is cheap. You can have like a different distributed, different clustered environment, and we can scale that. But frequent reads kind of like amplifying our CPU usage. So the current compression strategy is the kind of like hurting the performance more than it helps. So some of the recommended optimization we can do is, like, if we can, we would like to disable the compression, but let's say that's not something desirable. Like, this is a business requirement that you want to have like a compressed data in it. So what we will do in that case, we can probably, keep the both the version compressed and raw, but it kind of increases the data size, and also like a bandwidth. So you probably now transferring more data from Redis to your app, and then network also from your app to your client. So network bandwidth has increased, and um, like, yeah, extra memory there required. So that also doesn't come free. So this is the kind of trade-off is basically you discuss in this kind of interview. And then the other option is like, probably we can look into some of the fast compression algorithm, Snappy, LZ4, Z standard, uh, that has like a low CPU. We shouldn't use gzip, kind of like a popular algorithm, but it's kind of not good for frequently read keys. So yeah, this is kind of some of the thing that we can also, do some analysis, find out what works better with our data, and choose one. So yeah, these are like some of the optimizations we can discuss, and choose depending on what works for us, or for the data that we have for this use case. Yeah, once we have implemented which metrics we kind of like, you know track for the measure of success. So once we implement the changes that we discussed above, we should see that like P9 latency, P99, P95 latency should basically come back to either normal, or don't have that much, like it shouldn't be increasing, or shouldn't be we shouldn't have like a high diff compared to what was before. CPU usage should go down for sure. We should check what is the Redis hit rate look like now. Network usage, as we talked about, would increase, so we should also compare the bandwidth usage here. Latency in the Redis cluster, throughput. So these are like some of the things that we should metrics that we should be looking at once you deploy the changes. Any additional suggestion would be we should we can probably cache like a serialized object instead of like using object mapper back and forth, to convert from byte array to convert from JSON to Java object, Java object to JSON sort of thing. We can also look into the streaming for JSON object instead of like returning fully hydrated like a large 2 MB size JSON object to the client. We can like return the streaming, and then client can basically read through it. And then, yeah, of course, we talked about benchmarking different algorithm to decide which one works better for our scenario. So there's not one size fit all kind of thing, but we have to do different analysis and to find out what works, what not, and then choose the solution. So yeah, this is one of the interesting question. I mean, as I said, these are all from my work experience, and I tend to share with the broader audience. So this is really an interesting question. As you can see, multiple people have liked it. So yeah, that's what about this question. I have I think, as I said, I think I have like 60 plus questions. I tried to put them in the table in this interview question section, and I have 66 right now. 78 is like a question I have already in queue. So I need to reach 200 by the end of this year. So this is the table. Since this is Substack limited design at this point, so bear with me with this table. Design is, I know it's terrible, but I think it does the work. So yeah, some of them like are paid, as you can see, but some of them are like free, so try them. Whichever works for you. If you like it, consider becoming a paid member. I want to give back more to the engineering group from my work experience. There are like quizzes as well. um, then I have the I used to update this job board, but didn't see much interaction from the community, so I stopped updating it. But if you have feedback, like I should be keep updating there, I'll happy to do it. But yeah, right now mostly I'm covering interview questions, quizzes, and day like weekly digest, like the one that I showed earlier. So feel free to check out this website, javabulletin.substack.com. And I write all the content under engineering with Java page. So yeah, if you like it, consider subscribing the YouTube. I try to put more content here that would help broader audience, and don't want to put like something very repeatable, but try to put something that I learned through my work experience. This is not something that I'm doing like like kind of a full-time thing. I want to do it as just like sort of thing that I would share with more people. From my work experience, it also helps me improving my communication skill and like shareability skill with the more technical folks. So this is just like complementary skill that I'm building. So yeah, feel free to check it out. I'll link into the description. And thank you so much for your time. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.